Next session, we're going to jump into intelligent apps and analytics. Literally, how we're going to learn by the end of this session, we'll learn how artificial intelligence and analytics are actually fully present in our daily lives, fully there. However, we may not necessarily be fully aware of it, and we're going to actually see how this is actually going to change the culture, perhaps, of the way we work and the way forward, certainly in Jordan and the region, even beyond that as well. So the person who's going to be the moderator shaping this interesting, intriguing, productive session for us, please welcome to the stage from CF MENA lead and co-founder at Tabayun, Madonna Kafaja, who deserves a big round of applause. There we are.
Hello everyone. I'm very delighted to be among all of you today. So our panel, we're gonna discuss further the AI and analytics with my three panelists. But I would like to brief you about our topics. So the world is moving toward artificial intelligence, and it's likely that the technology behind your favorite app or internet service is built on AI. Airline apps are helping us discover the cheapest way to jet off on our favorite adventure. Smart assistants or VPAs are making day-to-day living a little easier. And search engines are assisting us in seeking information we didn't even know we needed, without forgetting that we're moving from mobile first to AI first world. Organizations are now applying AI and machine learning techniques to radically improve or reinvent their business models. Companies as well can now use machine algorithms to identify trends and insights in vast streams of data and make faster decisions that potentially position them to be competitive in real time. Gartner predicts that by 2020, 50% of organizations will lack sufficient AI and data literacy skills to achieve business value. Gartner also predicts that by 2021, 80% of emerging technologies will have AI foundations. 80%. In these early stages for development of AI in the Middle East, there is an opportunity for the region, for our region, to become a key player in the global agenda. Putting this into numbers, PwC estimated the contribution of AI in the Middle East as $320 billion by 2030. We might only be seeing the beginning of what AI is truly capable of, but there are reasons to believe that intelligent apps are the new big thing and will be for some time to come. These intelligent apps have the potential to transform everything, from the nature of work and how we conduct commerce to how we manage our personal life. According to HubSpot survey this year, 63% of people are not actually aware they use artificial intelligence technologies. Some of them still think artificial intelligence is science fiction. Well, it's not. It is science reality, actually. And we might be surprised to find out that we are already using it in our work, personal, and daily life. Please allow me to introduce our respected panelists now to go more in deep in this interesting topic. Kindly welcome Mr. Jonathan Haffier, the Product Strategy and Operation Analyst at Google. Thank you, Jonathan. With a broken leg. Mr. Mohammed Aoudi, he's the Marketing and Business Development Director for Zain Jordan. Mr. Mohammed Shakir, CEO of Arabia Weather Inc. And I am Madonna Kafaja, International Center for Journalists lead and the co-founder of Tabayun for e-learning and educational technologies. The final note I have that I will be glad to hear your questions and contribution on the topic during the Q&A at the last 10 minutes of our panel discussion. So please, we're gonna be welcoming all your questions in the last minutes. Thank you so much. Should we start? So Jonathan, you heard me saying about the percentages and do you think it's surprising that 63% of people still consider AI like as a futuristic vision of science fiction, while it's something we're using on a daily basis, like in emails, social networks, and others?
Yeah, it's really amazing how AI is utilized in Gmail and other social networks. We actually see it at Google, specifically in Gmail. And what you can be able to do in Gmail is specifically with Smart Compose. I was actually writing an email to Madonna this morning, and it's really interesting because you can be typing an email, and basically what the AI does is it kind of already knows what you're going to say. So, for example, when I was talking to Madonna, specifically on the email, I was like, "Hi Madonna, I hope your day is going well. Would it be okay to set? We had a meeting the next day." And so what I was able to do is I was typing up, "Can we have a meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow?" And so what happened was the AI actually saw that at the end of it, it would say thanks and have a great day. And literally all I had to do was click tab and basically would fill out that information from the words. So it's really interesting how we utilize that at Google, specifically in Gmail. But also we see it utilized in LinkedIn specifically. For example, I help a lot of students specifically with creating LinkedIn profiles. And what's really interesting is that when you create a LinkedIn profile, you put your experiences, you put your volunteer experiences or work experiences. And what's really cool is now you can have basic or premium, a premium account. But what it does is the AI analyzes your experiences and what you put down onto your profile and creates a summary for you. So for example, if you have 5 years experience in machine learning or graduated from a specific school, it'll automate it right when you're trying to do the summary. So it's really awesome to see these different utilization of AI specifically in social networks and in emailing specifically.
Thank you, Jonathan. So I think you agree with me that AI have drastically transformed our workplace, workflow, and our business communication. So Muhannad, how do you think AI is transforming the workplace, and from your own experience in the telecom world, how it changed your interaction with the users?
To tell you the truth, there are two types of artificial intelligence we need to look at. There is the artificial intelligence that Jonathan was talking about, which is basically the native within the app artificial intelligence. And there is the wider artificial intelligence that we're all aiming, and I think there's a lot of initiatives today that they're looking at, is basically looking at not only getting information from within this app and getting it from different sources. And just want to give kind of an introduction of how we look at artificial intelligence, and then I'll go back to the workplace and because they're all connected. So artificial intelligence depends on different inputs. One of the inputs is data. So basically, without data, artificial intelligence does not exist. So we need data. Data, if it's stored on a cloud, would make it easier for artificial intelligence to work. For us to have data, we need to have data sources. So we need a lot of connected devices, okay, to be able to enrich this database that artificial intelligence is reading from, and accordingly would do whatever commands there will be from the artificial intelligence function. And this is from one side. The other side is basically the artificial intelligence machine itself to start learning. So we have the machine learning part. Having said all of this, if we look at telecom in general, if we look at only looking at the existing behavior of customers and analyzing the behavior and the profile of this customer based on what we only see, we'll only propose services and products that would suit him based on what we only see. What I'm saying is, the more people or the more devices, connected devices participating within the bigger database that's somewhere in the cloud would give better results when it comes to the outcome of artificial intelligence. And I think this is where the world is heading. And there's the Siris and Alexas and where they're working around.
Yeah, I can get. But do you want to explore like more like in the region? Do you think that these kind of sources are still lacking and we need like more 10 to 20 years, or?
I tend to be positive. So let's hope we really realize how important it is we have to think about the data sources. Yesterday, I gave a comment before we had a discussion yesterday. We saw in the video presented by the organizers that there's a smart card in Jordan, and the policeman will be able to know everything, a 360 view of the Jordanian citizen. It's true, the card is very important, but what's more important is the data behind it. So if we don't have data behind or data stored in regards to Muhammad's profile, okay, the card will not do much. And what would be more interesting is, without having a policeman, and this is where the artificial intelligence is, the information will flow to the different individuals to either remind them of a loan or to tell them where is the best
rate. This will open
up
actually the question for Muhammad, for Arabia Weather. Like he's talking about collecting data, and the data is the most powerful element in the whole AI world. So can you talk more further about this thing in Arabia Weather?
Sure. For the data itself, it's the single most important piece in the chain and the loop of the AI. From my opinion, I think, from my own perspective, I think the importance of AI, it comes for the decision making. It enhances and improves the decision making, whether for people or for businesses. For the data part, as in Arabia Weather, we use different sensors that we deployed everywhere in the Arab world. We use satellites, we use different data sets. The challenge that we always want to solve in the part of the data is how we can get the weather more accurate and it's more probabilistic. So we use artificial intelligence heavily, and we sent many of our team members to NASA and to US to learn more, because I feel that artificial intelligence in our region and in Jordan particularly is a very futuristic topic. While we work on that heavily and we want to invest in our people to be able to work on that. We believe that artificial intelligence in Arabia Weather is the future, and we believe that if you want to scale your businesses and to change the model to be more scalable and to enhance the decision making, it would be the only way is to use artificial intelligence. Data, we found out that, such as weather stations, so we have like 500 weather stations that we deployed in the region. It collects data every 3 seconds. The infrastructure is not ready in the Arab world. Regulation is not ready. People still think, government would still think that these weather stations can be a security threat. Drones up to now still in the region. I would not say it could not be missed out, not used in the right way, but regulations are still not ready to absorb such kind of sensors that would allow for much more better understanding of the data and artificial intelligence. At the bottom line, I think in our region, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but we are not ready in terms of regulations, in terms of talents from universities. The way that we built our artificial intelligence department is we hired people from the university that they have passion in the data sciences, and then we sent them out to different entities globally to understand what exactly is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And when someone from our team has been recruited by NASA recently, I'm sure that we would need 3-4 years to find another one. So I think if we want to talk about artificial intelligence, we have to be realistic about our capabilities today and how we can really enhance that kind of capabilities in the near future, because it is the future.
Yeah, thank you. Jonathan, from your previous work with Snapchat, tell us how user data help like Snapchat to make the right decisions for a better user experience. Now we're taking it to another, the other POV.
Of course. So, a few months ago, I actually left Snapchat. So I was working at Snapchat in the operations, kind of customer operations, user operations space. And we worked a lot with user data, specifically with a lot of the updates that were occurring. And we actually, one of the most influential projects was actually when Snapchat decided to eliminate the stories section, specifically in the application. And what we did was, specifically, we released it to 1% of the population in the Europe area. And we would get thousands of different feedback in regards to how the application was. And it was really interesting because, honestly, nobody really liked the kind of implementation of getting rid of the stories. And so when people were writing in feedback, thousands of feedback every single day, we had to figure out kind of what our users liked and didn't like, but also what kind of bugs were occurring with the application, and we would prioritize them specifically in regards to, for example, like if we had a specific model of the phone, example would be an iPhone X that had like a white screen or the application wouldn't work, we would put that as a P0, or a P4 would be specifically in regards to maybe a general dislike of the app. And so what we were able to do is we categorize this different data through CRM platforms, specifically Zendesk, which we utilize in the United States. Utilize Zendesk and Jira, which we utilize to fix bugs and like communicate in regards to what bugs are occurring. And what we were able to do is we were able to find hundreds of different bugs that were occurring with our application, but we were also able to see kind of what our users wanted specifically, which they wanted the stories back. So what was able to happen was Snapchat in general was able to bring back the stories, but not in chronological order, but instead of how you interact with individuals, kind of like Instagram. So just being able to utilize that user data and making the right decisions to bring back the stories section and implementation was really effective and ultimately helped in the present day.
Yeah. So, Muhammad, we worked a little bit about the workplace and we talked about the region also. Now from the workplace to our living rooms, how far intelligent apps will be integrated in all details of our personal life? Like I'm talking about smart houses, I'm talking about like different self-automated cars, etc.
This is really aligned with what I said. Now, we started with connected devices, so basically IoT in general. It could be at home, it could be the streets, cameras connected in the streets for security or other reasons. We're talking about connected cars, we're talking about a lot of different devices within the IoT umbrella. And having all these devices feeding in within a certain database, assuming that the different devices we're using have access to this database in a way or another. And having new devices being introduced at home as well, which IoT devices like the devices linked to a smart home or different smart solutions, home, probably it could be a farm, something has to do with agriculture, etc. And having these new devices, it could be a car kit in the car, it could be a HomePod, it could be an Alexa. Having all these depends on the data coming from these different connected devices, and based on the data coming and having this big word of big data, and having these really intelligent engines that would crunch these data coming into this big data and giving decisions, there's still another part, which is basically facial recognition, voice recognition. Voice recognition comes in two parts. Recognizing words is something when it comes to voice recognition, and recognizing Muhannad's voice is another thing. So basically when I talk to Siri, for example, she would know that I said she. So
Because she's a
you can see how artificial intelligence is coming. So she would know that it's Muhammad speaking, not only recognizing the words I'm saying and just answering it. Facial recognition will come. I remember, I don't know how many years back, Google introduced Google Glass, but it didn't work. There were certain challenges within Google Glass. Probably it's the facial recognition, image recognition, voice recognition. I remember when you see the mic, we have to go closer to the mic to get the right voice. Now, if you have a HomePod or the AirPod, it doesn't really have to be close to your mouth for it to really capture what you're saying. So all these different technologies will help us at home, within our lifestyle. It will help us in decision making.
And we'll keep things changing and changing
Definitely.
for our kids. And
Definitely, especially when it comes to the machine learning as well. Because of the machine learning, the improvement of these different advices you're getting from these people, these machines, okay, is basically huge. And today, probably we're not still there, but if you look at the different technologies and the evolution of the different technologies, from IoT, big data, cloud services, and machine learning, you'll see that, and the different components of the artificial intelligence, you'll see that our life will be different. I don't know who is from my age. There was a series, American series called Knight Rider. He had a car that speaks. I think it will come very soon. Teslas are working on it, others are working on it. So artificial intelligence is coming. Probably we didn't reach the level, but just getting Netflix recommend a certain movie for me based on my previous history is not the artificial intelligence we're expecting in the future. I think we'll go beyond this, and it comes with the name, it's artificial intelligence.
Yeah. And I think we came to like a definition, kind of definition, because we complemented with the last panel. They were talking about the social component and how it's important. So we have the social component, we have the authorities and the importance to advance these technologies and the AI to get into really like fast-growing business. Yeah. So Jonathan, I would like to continue with you on the personal level actually, and I would like to ask you like how would you use AI and analytics in applications to build a personal brand for you?
Oh yeah, you can utilize analytics in different platforms, and I'll talk about two actually different platforms, applications specifically, LinkedIn and Instagram. And so on LinkedIn, you can create content specifically for different markets and different demographics, and it's really interesting. I myself create LinkedIn content, try to do it every single week. And what's really cool is it's free, you don't have premium. And what you do is you can make a post. So for example, I did a post recently he's a LinkedIn top voice, his name is Joel Hansen. And I was thinking of this just idea of doing a selfie video, right? A selfie video asking him a question in regards to the tech industry, regards to the tech industry or just advice in general. And so like I made my own hashtag too, which is like JWOW, which is Jonathan Words of Wisdom, which I try to inspire students, specifically students and interns. And what's really cool is you can tag specific people, like I tagged him, but also what's really cool is when you're creating the posts, what happens is LinkedIn figures out what kind of post you're doing. So it'll give you suggestions specifically on hashtags to utilize. So it'll have, for example, hashtag networking, advice, all these different types of things. And when you're able to create that content and post it on LinkedIn, after a few days, you can actually go to the profile, check the analytics section, and see specifically what companies are looking at your posts. So for example, for my kind of target market, I wanted tech companies to see it. So the top two that viewed it were LinkedIn and Google, which is really awesome. And then you can also target the specific position that individual has. My target market would be specifically students, and that was the most that actually viewed the post. And also, the last part would be the location, which is specifically my target would be San Francisco, Los Angeles, which was the top two. So you can be able to kind of tailor your posts towards these specific demographics and audiences. and create a personal brand for yourself through LinkedIn. But you can also do it through Instagram, and it's really amazing. Instagram, when I was utilizing the application this past few months, they've implemented different things where you can actually, anybody can change their personal account into a business account. And what's really awesome is you can see the analytics side behind it by seeing who views your profile specifically with the demographics, how many impressions that you've had, how many people have engaged with your post and also viewed your profile and viewed your stories in general. But also you can create a personal brand by, for example, if you're a public speaker and you go to different events and you post stories about them, what you can do is on the highlights section, you can basically put workshops that you've done and you can create it into a highlight section where an individual will be able to go to your profile and see what specific events and workshops that you've spoken at. And that ultimately creates a personal brand for yourself that you could talk about with other individuals. And it's just really awesome to see how these applications are able to utilize that in order to not only improve yourself, but help others in general.
I would like to open up the floor for questions from the audience, but I'm going to take Muhammad first, and we're going to go after for the questions part, Q&A. So Muhammad, from industry to companies, like to workflow, the whole steps that we talked about, and our personal life, of course, what changes do you expect in the region other than replacing me with a chatbot to moderate this panel maybe in 5 years from now?
It's a difficult question. Actually, artificial intelligence and machine learning is not chatbots. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is into more of how we can take the right decision from very variable and probabilistic data inputs. So take a look at like Watson and what they are trying to do in health, in diagnosis and making some I would say, decisions on the health side. It's something very difficult. So they are trying to replace doctors. They are not only trying to do chatbots. This is something very difficult, I think, and the challenge that we are all facing, people who would work in the artificial intelligence, on how we can make the most realistic decision making without mistakes, whether it's inside the companies or outside the companies or across any field. So as an example, in Arabia, whether we do route optimization for airlines and shipping, and this has always been done by meteorologists or the people that would work in meteorology, so they just draw the right path based on weather inputs. How we can make that decision automated through an artificial intelligence. In 5 years, I would say that there is a revolutionary global, I would say, revolutionary steps would be taken. We are seeing cars, we are seeing sensors, drones, Watson, high-performance computers. In the region, I'm not sure. We are not ready. If we want to be part of this, we have to start from now. Universities, schools even. Universities, regulations. Those are the 3 elements that we have to focus on in order to be able to be part of this journey. Definitely the world is moving towards artificial intelligence. Globally, in the US, in Europe, China, they're doing a lot of artificial intelligence, but in the region, they are very minimal, and we are just focusing on the flashy part of the artificial intelligence, which is like chatbots. But the reality is that artificial intelligence is something very deep. It's analyzing hundreds of terabytes of data, getting the right decision, the most realistic, and to be able to help and have the right impact on the community and society, whether it's in health, and car, and automotive, I would say smart cities, cost reduction, pollution, so many things that can be impacted by that kind of elements in the artificial intelligence. But at the end of the day, looking at the region, which is something that would be interesting for us, we need to start, because it's not a futuristic topic. I think you've mentioned at the beginning that there's 63% percentage of people would think that this is a futuristic topic, right? I am assuming that in the region it's like 90%.
This is made in the US.
I'm sure that it's in the region, it's more than 99% maybe. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, really. I'm trying to be more of putting the right things into perspective in terms of reality so we can start. I think the first step of solving any problem is admitting that there's a problem so we can start solving that. So this is my opinion and my view on that on the next 5 years.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to open up now the floor for questions. And I think the first question got from there. Here. Yeah.
Thank you very much for a very informative session. I'm like Mohammed. First of all, my hat's off to you and what you have accomplished and the standards you have set for the industry. I'm very underwhelmed by chatbots. I think they can get very gimmicky and very annoying, and they are definitely, I hope we should manage the terminology, not because we are pessimistic, but because we have to chart the path what needs to be done. I'm in the field of data processing, but our main substance is language. So we work a lot with natural language processing. Claiming that a chatbot is artificial intelligence is like saying that autocorrect or word predict is really artificial intelligence. We are very far from the stage of processing linguistic data to arriving at a state of artificial intelligence. There is a big spectrum of analytics, and analytics will have to go a long way before we can claim that they are more than data processing. They can help us in decision making. They definitely can automate and accelerate processes, but they are also all mostly algorithm based. So they are really still simply expediting things and accelerating things. I think it's very essential that in an IT forum that we manage the terminology, particularly because we need to situate ourselves in the context of the world, and we need to not keep ourselves down and not being futuristic. Until now, the manifestation of artificial intelligence that we are seeing in the industry are really misnomers. We are experiencing a bit of interactivity and some analytics. So we need to manage our terminology in order to set the horizons properly for academics and for the sector, and so that we don't engage in hype that eventually doesn't translate well for the industry. Thank you.
I agree. Very, very insightful, actually. Thank you so much. Nothing to comment. I think it's something that would align with even pre-stage when we talked all four together, that we have to prepare for our future. And smart cards, what you've mentioned. Jonathan, you were on the other world, so you're saying things in a different way, but for us, I think we are not ready at all, and the terminology of AI has been overused in the region. And when you really explore, it's not about automation. Again, the artificial intelligence is not automation. It is actually an automation of very high variables of inputs that are changing constantly. So it's not something constantly put and then you have result immediately. It could be the starting point there, but at the end of the day, the real artificial intelligence is how to make decisions like a human. It's, I think, bottom line, which is far away.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So I would like also to talk about like another point. Do you think like human beings will be able to work alongside AI, or AI will destroy jobs? At this point, I'm just raising because also there is a statistics in the US that says that 1.8 million jobs will disappear, but 2.8 million jobs will be created because of AI. So, do we have the right talent to fill in this gap between the 2 billions that we're talking about?
Maybe from my own perspective, I don't believe that artificial intelligence would substitute people roles. It might evolve the roles of people. This is a very challenging question that we always think about, but when you look at the history and the revolution that happened over the years in the industry, in the different industries, I think development would eliminate temporarily some of the jobs, but it creates another roles that would be needed. And this is back again to the same point of the importance of the educational system.
And regulations,
And
how the society,
exactly.
yeah, definitely. We're going back to the same point. So the last question, I think. There is 2 questions in it. One there and one here.
Thank you. The question is for Jonathan, right? Google.
Yes.
Is Google considering, because you have all kinds of engines that are AI, machine learning based, and deep learning as well, when would Google consider coming, say, to the region in MENA and introducing and educating people on those engines and how they work, and open it up for the startup community to develop solutions? I know you do that, and that will involve as well capacity building on things that have to do with future jobs that are related to AI. Is Google considering projects like that? I know about the little projects happening here and there, but isn't it worth it to have a bigger drive where Google and Microsoft and Apple drive that? I mean, I think Google probably would be the most appropriate candidate for that.
Yeah, of course. Great question. In all transparency, I actually just started at Google about 5 months ago. But we really do see an expansion into the region, like you said. Actually, I work on local services ads. And we're actually planning to specifically launch to the MENA region, European region, in the next year. So we really want to target that market, of course, specifically, but we're trying to grow for local services specifically in the United States, trying to go to different verticals and regions. I don't know if that answered your question, sorry, but that was just more of like a broader term, or like about through my experiences at Google.
I would like to comment on this. Definitely we need Google or anyone else to come and help us and get us to learn more and more about artificial intelligence or others. But in parallel, we should probably look into what should we do to reach at least a moderate state when it comes to such technologies. I think I'd like to thank Intaj for such a forum. At least we're talking about technologies, okay, within such a forum. But where is the educational system? And I remember meeting with one of the university presidents in Jordan, and I was asking about the competition within universities. I don't think competition within universities in Jordan, and most probably in the region as well, is competing on introducing new subjects or changing the curriculum to cater for technology and the technology evolution. You see outdated subjects, outdated curriculum. This is from the educational part. If you look at regulations, it's outdated as well. So, and I think in-house we need to work a lot in correcting regulations, understanding terminology, understanding what exactly, if we're giving artificial intelligence as an example, what is exactly artificial intelligence, etc. I think there's a lot of work, educational system and decision makers within the government should work on to get us at a certain level to work in parallel with the world.
I totally agree with you, and we were talking about education and technology and how it's a must now in the MENA region. There were the last question in here.
Yeah, hi, thank you. The questions are actually for all three of you, and it has to do more with the regulations that should be implemented on maybe AI or future development in this industry. I know for a fact that in the MENA region, especially in the Arab world, regulations that have to do with the ICT sector are somewhat lacking, but I'm sure for this industry to be, so to say, to move forward, there has to be a role between private companies such as Google, Facebook, maybe also Arab companies, as well as a governmental role. So the question in specific is what type of government role should be involved in this type of industry, and what type of regulations are lacking not only in the Arab world, I think also because this is basically a very, well, not futuristic subject, but it is where the progress is being made in the new industry, that regulations are also somewhat lacking in the, let's say, Western world, in the United States and Europe. So the question is basically regarding that.
Go ahead.
I think from government perspective, I would say that the ICT should be mainly involved, and making the right regulation and tweaks to the regulation that is existing. But it's something that more into multi-sector topic. It's not only with one government body, so I would say education has to be, universities has to be part of that, universities have to be part of that, and also the ICT sector in terms of government part. So this is just to answer your question. We need to see what other parts of the world are doing, and maybe not going too far. In the United Arab Emirates, they have a ministry of AI. So I'm not sure that would be something useful, but at least they are trying to position the importance of the topic. It's all about endorsing that topic in our communities, in our forums, gathering, the importance of that, and trying to endorse it into the educational system and the regulation. It comes together at the end of the day. If it's considered to be a futuristic topic from the education and from the community, regulations will not come. You need some power there to convince and to be a real thing that is going on. Without that, it will not happen. So in my own perspective, I would say that educational system and the governments should work together with the ICT sector, public or private, to endorse the regulations. One point, what type of regulations? I think AI regulation primarily challenging in the part of data collecting, which is mainly related to the IoT sector, such as putting sensors, cameras, and it's all related about drones and so on. So how we can solve this first piece. Regulation also will come into the education system in enforcing and endorsing that topic. But I think in the actual work of artificial intelligence, I would be more tending to having more governmental allowances for the companies that would work in that field and share the benefits with the government and the local community. Then there's a question.
Go ahead. Your question, yeah.
I have two questions. The first question is for the three of you. That what do you think is the next step for the AI?
Jonathan, go ahead if you want.
Having a machine answering this question.
Really interesting question. In the US, actually, what's really interesting is they just implemented this past year, they got a $300 million investment, or $300 million invested in them. It's a company called Bird and Lime. There's two different companies. And it's really interesting because they utilize, it's from the ex-Uber exec. And what's really interesting is they have these things called Birds, those are electric scooters. And so, I'm from the San Francisco area, and what happens is that the AI is utilizing these scooters and they're put in different, anywhere. I don't know if you guys heard of this Bird, of these electric scooters, but what people can do is they put the birds in any area in specific locations, and anyone can go ride them for a specific price. And it's really interesting, that market, because it's significantly growing. Lime, of course, is getting in there, Bird too as well. All these different companies are trying to get into this industry, which is really interesting. But they actually just banned it in San Francisco because it's causing traffic congestion. Because all the scooters all around the streets and all of that. But I really see a huge shift in AI towards that industry because it's utilizing an application. You literally go on the app like Uber and you can find where the specific scooters are and you can basically ride them for, I think it's $1 to start and then 15 cents per mile. And you can literally drop them off anywhere. And then it also helps the economy too and gives jobs to people, specifically students, because what happens is that they have chargers, and so individuals will go to these Birds, they're called Birds, and basically bring it to their homes, charge it, and put it back in a specific location. So it's really cool how the US has been doing that specifically with that kind of industry, but I really see AI taking effect there.
Thank you. And my second question is for Mr. Muhammad and Shakir and the other Mr. Muhammad. That as an entrepreneurs and developers in the MENA region, what do you think that you will do for the AI development and how you will develop it?
I think we need to answer this a little bit quickly so we
Okay,
rush off.
it's a very good question, and I have to meet you after this session. What we would really add into this is actually educating people and the ecosystem as entrepreneurs, as companies, in the importance of the AI and something called in business scalability and giving edge, which would make you more developed. What we will add is we have to create that kind of ecosystem in the AI. We have to train our developers. We already sent people to US and to Europe to learn more about this industry, and we would send more. We are interested in people like you when they are in the schools and in the universities to get them working with us. And we did that. So we had people working at Arabia Water since years. They came from the university and they worked at the universities and even the schools. And one of them proudly said that he was recruited by NASA like 5 months ago. He came to me and he said, I want to go to another job. And I said to him, where will you go? And I will meet wherever we are going. He said, I'm going to NASA. What we want to create is we want to export talents. And when we reach into the level that exporting talents, we know that we are in the right track because we will have so many talents in the region. So what we would add as companies and entrepreneurs is really enforcing and creating education, training, and endorsing the importance of artificial intelligence into the businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to rush for the lunch now. Thank you. It was an enjoyable panel, actually. Thanks for everyone.
There we are, thank you so much, wonderful. So as you've just heard, it's now time for lunch. We will be back here at 2 o'clock, back here in this room 2 o'clock for more MENA ICT 2018, day number 2. And again, lots to come. Have a quick look at the programme. You'll see some of the fantastic panels we've got throughout the afternoon. And as I say, back here at 2 o'clock.